All right. Okay, please continue. Emily, would you go?
Yes, good morning, everyone. This is Emily Leach. I'm a planner with Marquette County. Happy to be a part of this group, learning and hopefully being a positive participant as well.
Glad to have you. All right. Jerry.
Jerry, oh, I didn't realize I was unmuted, sorry. Jerry Worm, Western UP Planning. I'm just observing here.
Thanks. Let's see. Tom.
I'm Tom Stevenson with Connected Nation, and I've been working in the UP with your county since I believe 2011. So working on this, glad to see it starting to, we're starting to see some gaps getting closed and moving on to other other type of projects we've needed to work on for several years.
Scott.
Hi guys, Scott Randall with Peninsula Fiber Network. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you, Scott. Trey.
Hello, Trey Frigette, Market Alga RISA and REMC 21 Director. Happy to be here and looking forward to seeing how educational and digital literacy pieces can fit together with some of these build outs, as well as also including some of our work that we've done as part of the local ISD broadband task force. So glad to be here.
Jim.
Jim Lundberg with Merit Network. I'm the Upper Peninsula Member Engagement Manager, and I've been with Merit now 11, going on 12 years. Used to be at Bay College as the IT Director. So this has always been something near and dear to my heart for the last 30 some years, is to get better connectivity for our residents here. So
Great.
Happy to be a part of this group.
Yeah, glad to have Merit as a part of this. I was just actually in the community of practice meeting just prior to this and had to drop off for this meeting, but yeah, it was a lot of really great information being shared at that. So yeah, thanks. Dave Kronberg.
Hey folks, Dave Kronberg here from Innovate Marquette Smart Zone. We all know that broadband will have huge implications on our ability to develop economically. Our organization's here to help in any way that we can. And I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Amy, would you go?
Thanks, Brian. Good morning, everyone. Amy Berglund, Director of Business Initiatives with Invest UP. We're an economic development organization covering all 15 counties of the Upper Peninsula. And broadband expansion and connectivity is one of our top priorities, as it's pretty important to any growth potential that we have in the future. So happy to join the group and learn what's going on. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Molly. All right, not able to get off mute there, but we'll come back to you. Joni. All right, I'm gonna skip over that one too. Bethany, would you introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm Bethany Leiter. I work with Bruce Moore at Highline. I am community relations for Highline. So I'm out in the community talking to people, hosting meetings and things about broadband. So thank you very much, Ryan, for hosting this meeting. And I look forward to listening in.
Thank you very much for joining us. And Molly and Joni, if you get your sound working there, then feel free to introduce yourself at any point throughout the presentation. But we're going to switch over to our next slide here, and Tom Stevenson is going to be talking to us a little bit about digital literacy here and some opportunities. He has his own presentation that he can share, but I just wanted to share this flyer here that Escanaba Public Library has put together for a training it has coming up in January. So I think the expectation is that at least with these programs, they're partnering with AT&T and bringing these trainings to the libraries throughout the UPs. So Tom, I'll pass it over to you and you can share a little bit more on that, and feel free to share your screen.
Hey, you want to allow me to share?
Yep.
There we go. Everybody see that?
Yep.
There we go. So real quickly, Connect the Nation, we've been working on digital literacy for a lot of years. Good example of some of the work that goes into these type of programs. The mapping program, the FCC mapping program that came out today, that type of work, doing locations, we started that back in 2015 and working with the FCC and Senator Peters. So today's map, although as it is, it's a good start, but that started in 2015. So that's how long it takes to get the government to move forward with a lot of things. So we really work on access, adoption, and use of broadband, and that's basically been our big push. So in the when you look at the funding coming our way, you notice that they out of the $62 billion, they set aside $2.7 billion for digital equity, and then another $14 billion for affordability, and that's the ACP that we're talking about here in this conversation. So again, one of the things that we're talking about, connectivity, one of the issues with digital literacy and inclusion is a lot of our anchor institutions, such as our libraries and schools, they still lack gigabit level broadband service. So hopefully during this funding process, there is a piece in there, although we call it a third priority, is to make sure that all our anchor institutions have the ability to have a gigabit level service, and including our medical facilities, so that they can engage in better digital literacy training, and also telemedicine, and the schools educating the kids' homework, so closing the homework gap. So, and I think this one here, with this funding, as Bruce talked about under RDOF, they have a low-cost broadband program, and anybody that's going to be any provider or organization community that's going to be participating in that big build out under BEAD, which we don't expect until 2024, you must offer at least one low-cost broadband service. So you're seeing the government getting involved finally, where they're putting money into broadband infrastructure, but they're also thinking ahead and also making sure that everybody's included in this process. So they're now being written into law. So the Digital Equity Act, there's two legs of this right here. We're going to wait for details on this. It's still out there in its young age, and they're kind of looking at different programs. It's going to be actually ran through the state. The Office of My High will be doing a community engagement, and they'll be doing two things. The one's for the broadband build outs, the infrastructure, but also for digital literacy. So we have to put together two state plans for using the BEAD funding. And also we expect somewhere between $20 and $30 million to be put into digital equity and digital inclusion, which is something new that they've been adding to a lot of these grant programs, making sure that everybody's included, that the service is affordable. So we're starting to turn the corner on this. This is something that people have been pushing for years and years now. So we talked about the Affordable Connectivity Program. They set aside $14.2 billion. The program was supposed to run for about 10 years, they thought, but it's been a big hit. And some of it, I might say, some of it's been taken advantage of by certain providers. Off the record, it looks like this program won't last 10 years. They're going to put more money into it after about 3 years. But at least it's available right now, providing $30 per month subsidy. And they've opened it up to quite a few of the vulnerable populations, not only the children on the federal lunch program and seniors on SSI, but also opened it up to folks like veterans and disabled folks. So they've expanded this program. So overcoming the digital divide, we here at Connected Nation, we've been working on a lot of different issues, infrastructure, but now we're also starting to be able to focus more on the adoption. And these are some of the things, and we're starting to be able to develop programs under these applications here. So we've always had our Digital Works, which is a teleworking program. It's really taken hold with our military bases, our spouses. We're seeing a lot of support for that right now. We've had it in communities, and it works out pretty good until we saturate the job market. Typically, a lot of the rural communities, we sign on about 100 to 120 folks to these to be able to telework, and then we run out of clients for those communities. So this is some of the programs we'll be working for. Recently, AT&T decided to get in front of all this. They're being a good corporate citizen here. They put out their foundation put out $6 million in for digital literacy learning. And we at Connected Nation, we ended up pulling in about half of this. The other organization was Dignity, or Dignity Unity. I believe that's how you say that, Digital Unity. And we both split this up. The training programs that are being presented right now are actually in collaboration with the Public Library Association. And these are courses that they put together and approved by AT&T. I will say we are able to edit that. They put this out there, and so we're kind of the guinea pig and beta site for a lot of the digital literacy training right now. So our folks have been doing this for a while, and so we're actually working with this. So a couple of programs that are out there, these are under the AT&T, is their digital skills workshops, Teens Teaching Tech, which I like, which is going to be a really good program. I can remember working with Marquette. They had a similar program through the Marquette Library and the school system. Teens use under the National Honor Society, and Achievery, another program I'll get into. So digital literacy workshops. I'm going to be able to share this with Ryan. Right now, Escanaba Library is signed up, but I'll be in towards the end of January. We also have the Eastern UP ISD is signed up for these programs, and also in that same time period, and also the St. Ignace Library. And this is in collaboration with the Sioux Tribe and the ISD out there. And I'm expecting to sign up the West Iron River Library over in Iron River within the next week or so. We're looking at some time frames, looking at some times for this. And we have several other libraries in your area. I did reach out to the Marquette, the Peter White Library, and they already have somebody. They already have a program in place, which is not surprising to me. They have somebody, I think he charges $5 a person per class, which is pretty cheap just to cover his costs. So they already had one. So they really, they didn't want to, I guess it'd be bad to come in and do this and also compete with him. So we're kind of stepped aside with that, but Marquette already has one in place, their library system. So basically, this is the advance. This is the goal here is to teach folks some of the basic digital literacy skills. And we're hoping that out of every 4 points, they're able to absorb one of four. So technology's got to be spoon fed. So that's what these programs are designed, not to be too complicated, but to actually work with these vulnerable populations. So signing up with that. Teens Teaching Tech, I think this is a great program. This is working with teenagers under supervision, such as the schools and libraries. I've got a Rotary Club here looking at it right now. Basically, it fronts them $500 to go out and train people with trained individuals, and it gives them $10 per person. Everybody they train, they sign up and train to be able to put into their club, whether it's a National Honor Society, a Rotary Club, whatever they have at the library. So this is another program that's just started taking off. We finally got the bugs out of it. Had to kind of work through some legalese with this one when you're dealing with teenagers. This is kids that are 16 and over, 16, 17, 18 are eligible for this program, these clubs. The other one's Achievery, and this is a distant learning program for students. It basically a platform that features clips in some of the most popular, well-loved films, TV shows, animated series. And it's something that can be used by the children at home, in the community, or in the classroom. This is kind of a pretty cool little program that's being offered to all the students in the goals. Another program we've had for a while now is Drive Digital Learning platform. So libraries and other organizations, there's a number of online training programs that can be used. I've had several of my communities, especially in the lower part, use this. Their libraries would use this with an in-house instructor. And then, of course, we talked about our Digital Works training program with that. Some of the other things we're working on right now that may be of interest, we've worked with AT&T also on the Connect K through 12. It's a resource talking about the FCC's goal of getting gigabit level service of per student and throughout the nation. And we just finally put that report out. Michigan, I believe right now, and Trey, you might, this is something like Trey and those guys are working on with the schools. Right now, we've only got roughly 68% of the student population has access to adequate bandwidth in the schools right now, which is considered access. And again, that's a brand new report that was just put out. We talked about telehealth when we talk about digital literacy and training, digital inclusion. Two of the big issues are the schools and the healthcare community. So as this expansion is growing and pushing out, we've already started doing studies on the different types of training programs, the issues surrounding this, so that when the broadband gets out there, we're ready with ideas and thoughts on how to train. We did a study here a couple of years ago in Michigan, and one of the 5 rural counties under the Michigan Healthcare Endowment Fund, and one of the counties is Dixon County. And this is the link to that study, a simple survey talking about telemedicine and the issues. And the surprising thing that came out of this, a lot of folks are kind of hesitant because of privacy. So this is something that went back to the healthcare communities that they had to start working with and tighten down and educate people on that. We did an overall study. We did a follow-up after some of the training, some of the ideas, and that's under the telehealth research and development. The FCC now is, as they're moving forward with all these broadband expansion programs, working with NTIA under the BEAD, they're now looking at digital equity and diversity. And so our Vice President, Heather Gate, actually chaired this. And they just recently put out a report the other day on this to different best practices to prevent digital discrimination and promote digital equity. And believe it or not, the rural areas, a lot of your students in the rural areas, that is considered, a lot of folks are looking at this as a digital discrimination and lack of equity, especially for our rural students that don't have access to broadband. So these are some of the resources. These are kind of the cutting edge of it. That's what's going to be coming down. And these programs are being followed quite a bit by the FCC and NTIA. So by the FCC, and so and the NTIA. And so we're looking at a lot of the data that's being collected. So now that our broadband expansion and BEAD programs are underway, we need to start looking at how to leverage this to our advantage. So that's real quickly. Quit sharing.
Hey, Ryan, could I make a comment? This is Bruce.
Sorry, I didn't realize I was on mute. Yes, go ahead, Bruce.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Tom, that's a great overview. I guess you call this a bit of an advertisement. Bethany and I are working with a third-party strategic consultant. I mean, Highline's position as we are going to be very aggressive, especially, augmenting our existing obligation, the Upper Peninsula, to get, with the goal of universal service for all households in the Upper Peninsula aggressively going after additional, funding opportunities to get fiber to the home. We're going to be very aggressive also with these grants that Tom is alluding to. And so with the community is, I know this is lightly attended, Ryan, we're going to get something out, but and we'll be working very closely with MyHigh and in Tom's organization. But, community partnership, I look at winning those grant dollars. And, that's not my business plan. Now, my business plan is monthly, recurring revenue from internet subscription, right? So if we can help bring that kind of grant funding to the Upper Peninsula, it'll be a complete pass-through for us. I mean, that's, I don't want to make a dime off of that. That would just be our helpful contribution to, improving digital literacy and inclusion throughout the Upper Peninsula. So I just wanted to, we're going to come out with a program, we're looking for support, and if we can help, we'd be happy to participate. Thank you.
Yeah, I can make a comment. We look forward to working with the providers. AT&T, this is a win-win for both sides. They're looking at, selfishly, they're looking at expanding their footprint or actually increasing their adoption rate. And they realize a lot of folks still don't use broadband, unaware or know how to use all the full services. So it's kind of a win-win. They're good corporate citizens, but also it helps their bottom line. And we're seeing right now also a lot of foundations stepping up down in Texas. They're actually supporting some of these digital literacy programs and also the telemedicine education programs in their region or in their footprint. So we're seeing this already, and not waiting for the federal government, but a lot of it's localized. So as your foundations and up in the Upper Peninsula, some providers, they have their own foundations, and the co-ops, this is some of the ideas they're looking for. This is some of the things they're looking at right now that can help them in two or three different ways. So like I said, it's a win-win for everybody. So
Did anyone else have any other questions for Tom? Tom, I'm wondering, if we were interested, if any partner was interested in, future digital literacy trainings from any of those programs, or even something else more creative that we might be able to come up with. How would they get going with that?
well, first of all, I'll share this PowerPoint, and it has, all you do is contact me or actually go to the website, and our trainers, how this works. It's a hybrid. We're actually, the main trainer is located down at, I believe it's Wright Air Force Base. And so, but we have somebody on the ground in the classroom also working with the students and helping them through. So it's a hybrid type of service where AT&T is paying for it. I'm going to be one of those people helping, traveling up there as I'm working on other projects too. So something I can do. But like I said, it's the big one right now. Everybody's asking for, especially the provider world is asking about the cybersecurity. A lot of folks are still hesitant as the fiber is being built out, and Bruce might even be able to tell you that. And also Scott with Hiawatha, that folks are a little bit hesitant about paying bills online. They still want to mail in. And so the provider world looking at cutting costs and keeping costs down. So it's mobile applications, regular email, how to use search engines and things like that. Those are the different kind of classes that are being offered. But yeah, you can reach out to me. And if you're somebody is the foundation's looking for an idea, and also the healthcare community, we're seeing in Texas, those studies that we did statewide here in Michigan are now being taken on a regional basis, or like I said, in other states, where they're looking at what their clients or what their footprint is and what are the issues so they can expand their telemedicine services to those areas. So a lot of things are going on. It's just a lot of things. So
is there any sort of a subcommittee or a working group around the adoption phase components? I'd be interested in better understanding, what's going on there and what help is needed.
We don't have a subcommittee, but I think we could be interested in forming one and talking about that a little bit more, small group of partners with our ISPs, and yeah.
Well, this has been really good to just get a quick briefing. I'll look into the components of what's already there. But that's an area I'm really interested in. And how do we make the presence of broadband really become a catalyst, and what are the things that need to happen to make that really take off? We've learned a lot about that, working with youth, working with nonprofit groups, working with apprenticeships and internships over the last 10 years, that I think, could inform some really creative opportunities.
Yeah, we'll think about that a little bit more and see what we can pull together. Are there any last questions for Tom before we switch over to the next topic? All right, seeing as there's none. Tom, did you want to keep going, or do you want me to talk about the affordable connectivity program?
Oh, you can, I touched on that briefly, but you go ahead and let's see what you learned from your classes. And yeah.
Sure. Yeah, so I attended the White House press briefing and learned a little bit about the new program that has come out. There's a new outreach grant here for the affordable connectivity program. So I guess to start, there hasn't been really robust enrollment in this program, not to the levels that that the FCC wants to see with this. So they're kind of upping that effort and getting the information out there a little bit more. And so this grant has recently, it came out on the 10th. It's the Affordable Connectivity Outreach Program that is going to provide resources to various organizations, I think schools and nonprofits and libraries. They're all eligible to apply for this program. And it gives them resources for, printing or in-person outreach to help share some of this. But I think, a lot of people are still not aware of all of, the eligibility for this program. It's very broad. So, if you're on any kind of government assistance, you're eligible for the program, free or reduced lunch, even having Pell Grants. So there's a lot of ways to be able to qualify for this program. So just wanted to let everybody know that this is that this outreach grant is out here in case you want to apply for this. And I think Michelle, I see you're on the call now. Maybe you have some interest in this as a housing organization. But I think, we could partner with the schools and whatnot to be able to do this a little bit more.
Thank you, Ryan. Yes, we're willing to partner with any entity in order to make sure that the UP gets this service.
Yeah, this is Tom again. I've had some of my communities, when this first came out, you are right. The sign up on this, especially in a lot of the more low income areas, was very low. And providers are seeing this as an excellent way to get people online, eventually increase their sales. So they work with the local communities, and we started seeing a lot of press releases, things like that. And some of our community leaders were going to the schools and talking to the school board and getting the school on board. So they would send out I believe the FCC does have some brochures and some information that can be passed on and being placed in newsletters. And so it made a dramatic impact. After a couple of months, the providers in the area noticed that it did start to pick up. And the programs, the numbers started to climb up quite a bit. So it does take community engagement, organizations like yourself, those folks getting involved. And, but, you know, using all the utilities, all your instruments that you can use, working with different organizations to get the word out. And the schools are really important. And especially with this dual fold, especially with all our children that still don't have access to broadband because of affordability issues. So
Yeah, the resources that they had in the media kit were extremely helpful. There's all sorts of flyers, depending on who you wanted to target with them, if it's schools, if it's tribal communities, there's PSAs, there's Facebook posts that you could just take, and infographics and things like that. So if you wanted to access those, you just Google Affordable Connectivity Program Media Kit, and it's all right there. So
I put it in the chat for you, Ryan, the
Thank you.
media kit.
yeah, good. Yeah.
Thanks.
And it's nice to see that they cleaned up the kit. But like I said, the first kit was quite helpful and provided guidance. So it's just a matter of the folks on this call right here, these type of, you know, the team members, the committee members, task force, it's getting you involved and helping actually makes a big difference.
I've been working with our regional schools, Tom, on just this fact of the spreading the word of the Affordable Connectivity Program in their newsletters and whatnot that they send home to their families. In fact, I'll be talking with the secretary of principals here this afternoon and reiterating the use of this program to help connect their families.
Yeah, you know, what do you try? You got to reach out to them at least 3 times, I think, before you get saturation. I believe that's the rule anymore, since we're bombarded like we are. So
yeah, it takes a little while, you know. When I think it came out a little early sometimes, and so start of school can be a little bit crazy. But I think
right.
I think now in the I'm trying to see if we can get a push here for that second semester.
Okay. Any questions on any of this? All right, seeing as there's none, we're going to move over to our next agenda item, and that's talking about the mapping update. And so it wasn't planned, but the FCC released their maps today, and so that's a nice alignment with this meeting. So I don't have many details about it. I found out probably about a half hour before this meeting that the new maps are here. And so, Tom, did you want to expand on this a little bit more?
No, I just saw it myself, started going through it, trying to make heads or tails of it. And this is the map that the FCC, this is the reason that the MEDC spent over $5 million to do their own mapping, to be able to challenge this map, putting people on the ground. We finished the UP about a month ago, before the snow started to fly. And I think that MEDC map, which will be used to challenge this map, should be made public just before Christmas. So made available. It's in the, I believe it's already in the hands of the MEDC right now. The project is pretty much complete. And I will say our engineers were quite shocked, pleasantly surprised to see so much fiber being built in the UP in northern Michigan. They didn't believe me, so they were quite pleased, and they work all over the country. So we ended up having 21 teams. We had Empower ended up hiring them out of Iron River, that group, to help, because there was just so much. There was just so much more anticipated, but they made it on time. They hit their deadline. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
So
we'll have
on this
Tom,
map.
have you,
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Please go ahead.
So I'm not sure, you said you just got a chance to look at it. Has anything jumped out at you yet as far as maybe a potential area of discrepancy based on your travels throughout the state?
I say there's a lot of exaggeration. I looked at just at my home area, And I say there's a lot of overstatement in here, so I'll
Thanks.
just leave it at that. And
So on this, on the interactive map, you can zoom in on any of these areas and it shows you, at the address level connections. So if you can see my mouse here, you click this and you can toggle on and off the various speeds and types of technology.
Mhm.
So I'd encourage you to look at that. I'll share this out. It's a pretty simple link you got here, but yeah, I'd encourage you to take a look at that and look at your own areas and verify that.
Yeah, this is what the NTIA is going to base their, when they put the formula together to figure out what when they start dividing up that $32.5 billion for broadband expansion, the grant programs are going to use this data right here. And so the reason we, the MEDC, went ahead and spent the money is so they could challenge us, because we figured we would see some overstatements on here. And it would make, and we're expecting, initially we were kind of figuring it would make a difference of about $150 million more available to challenge, where we'd get an extra 150 million more for grant programs. And so unfortunately, Michigan is ahead of the curve. Most states, a lot of states are screaming, wanting to put somebody on the ground, and we're saying just can't happen now. This is stuff that's got to be thought up ahead of time. So yeah. So yeah, it's going to be quite interesting, this challenge period and what we come up with. So
when I was in the merit meeting just before this, I think I understood them when they said about the challenge process, that only local units of government would be able to initiate a challenge, and there might be some additional working out of making it so others are able to challenge that.
yes, yeah, there's some rules that we looked at, and the challenge period is so short that it's not feasible. When the state will break it up, our map will break it up. We'll also break it up into a county level, the data. So each county, if they wish to go ahead and challenge it at the county level now, they can. So that's one of the things that's going to happen with the MEDC map. It will be broken up per state, per county. And so that those local units on a county basis can actually use that data to challenge if they wish. So also.
So
So
wondering,
Ryan,
yeah, go ahead.
sorry, this is Bruce. So you're suggesting that it was that current internet service providers are not going to be able to challenge the mapping?
Oh, I don't know if they can or not. I think right now the community, what I've heard is the communities, I would imagine during the grant process, I imagine you can, but I think the rules are so flaky right now. And like I said, some of the expectations are, it's just not going to happen. I mean, they got the timeframes for 2 weeks for this, a month for that. It's going to take a while.
Hey, Tom, maybe you can help share clarification on this, or maybe even Bruce for that matter. So on this FCC map, they list the dots, right? So they, if you type in your address, you can see that address location. So do you know where those address locations came from? Because if I'm looking at my house, perhaps the address is incorrect with respect to the location. So I'm just kind of curious where they got that.
I'm not sure where they, I was told at one time, so the idea is that the counties will be able to take their 911 data and overlay it to make sure that they've got all the right dots connected in the right locations. That's one of the areas we're going to look at. Plus, when we did our state map, we're using the county's 911 data so that we can, I think so a lot of this data is actually provided by the providers. if I'm not mistaken. So their database. And it might be some of it is public data that's being used. The process that they're using we know there was going to be issues with the process they're using. So just about the way they were going about it and the data sets they were using. So
Do you think that the My High office is going to do a potential challenge on the on that data, on that location data, just because it doesn't doesn't really succinct with 911 data, for instance?
yeah, we're going to use the My High office, as I understand. I mean, they haven't talked to me in a while, but I understand that they're going to challenge this using the local 911 data. So, and to be able to break it up into packets at the county level so the counties and communities can also challenge it and look at it. You'll have a data set to overlay.
Well, I mean, Trey, and I guess this is another plea. I mean, the addressing, particularly in the very obviously rural parts of the Upper Peninsula, across every county, is so challenging for us. We employ full-time GIS people. That's all they do all day long, is focus on addressing and making sure that it not only aligns with the E911, but also the United States Postal Service, because it's critical to us, right? That as we, build the plant and we load the addresses into our billing system, and it has a lot to do with the flow through provisioning, super technical in terms of, how we deliver service to an individual household that orders from us. But addressing is a big deal. In fact, we're looking for more GIS people. So if anybody knows a urban planning GIS addressing person, we're hiring. So get that word out. I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, that's when we had all these discussions on community engagements. Bruce was amongst a lot of them. And so we stressed that the counties supply their 911 data under an NDA, if they have to these providers, so that they have the most accurate and great top data, the best data out there. And other than using some of the public data sets that are available, they're much better. So, and this is not having that data is, in some cases, this is why some of this data in some of these areas are off. It's just the data that's available out there isn't the best. And
Well, and Ryan, just to kind of, button this up from my perspective. I mean, we have a large consulting company, scouring these maps, as we speak, right? Because certainly we don't want there to be confusion, and it would be a big waste of money to have future grant money, for example, granted over the top of, our RDOF, award households, right? That, by the way, we have 6 years to build, you know what I mean? And so anyway, I think that there's going to be all kinds of challenges to, potentially, the locations, based on, what they're identified as in this first round of mapping. And to that point, we're very interested, as I'm sure a lot of the providers are, to see the work that the state of Michigan did with the drive out that Tom is alluding to, because that will be important information to us as well. And, to remind everybody the impending Robin grant that the state of Michigan is about to come out with defines unserved as 100 by 20, which, by the way, that theoretically, includes about 90% of the Upper Peninsula households, right? So, this mapping is super important.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I'll try to get some more clarification on my interpretation of the challenge eligible entities for that, and try to get back to you, Bruce, on it. But yeah, that's what I know about that. And I guess we're on to our last agenda item now, partner updates. So if anybody else has anything else they'd like to share in the realm of broadband, then happy to take your comments here. All right, I guess everybody's eager to start their Friday afternoon. Well, I'm gonna give the rest of the time back to you then, and thank you very much for joining us, and hope you have a happy Thanksgiving and a good deer season if you're a hunter. So we'll see you probably. I'll send out a meeting poll for meeting in either January or February to restart this in the new year. So yeah, I guess Merry Christmas and Happy New Year too.
Hey,
Thanks, Ryan, you
Ryan,
too.
did you say you were sending
Thank
out the
you,
slide
Ryan.
deck?
Yes, I will send out the slide deck.
Awesome. Thank you all.
Yep, thanks.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thanks, Ryan.
Bye.
Everybody have a great holiday season here.
Yep.
Yep, you
Enjoy
too.
your holidays.